Basketball Australia pays its respects to the traditional custodians of the lands that we gather upon today and extends those respects to any First Nations people present. BA pays its respects to elders past, present and emerging and celebrates the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing culture and connections to the lands and waters of Australia. BA recognises the privilege of existing upon the lands of the oldest continuing culture on the planet and acknowledges that the land we stand on today always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
And this is our first official mentoring program with Dee Kantner, who, and I feel so privileged that she's agreed to do this with us because she's someone that, you know, obviously I haven't had the best relationships with officials throughout my career on the court, but Dee was someone that built rapport with me very early on when I was very, very young. And she's also been someone that I've looked up to, become friends with throughout my career. And I couldn't think of anybody better to start this mentoring program off over the next, little period than Dee. So I'm going to pass it on over to you, Dee, to get underway.
Gosh, LJ, really, the honor is truly mine. I mean, yeah, I met LJ when she was first, I think, 17, a long time ago. But I mean, obviously I'm older than she, so I can't disparage her age. But always an amazing player, competitive fire. But I appreciate that about athletes. I really do. I understand it. I'm as competitive as they come. And when she asked me if I'd be, interested in helping, I said, anything I can do. And guys, I want to tell each and every one of you on, kudos to you for joining this mentoring mentoring program that LJ is trying to start. I'm excited to be part of it. I am not, I already reached out, as Helen said, say hi. Amy said hi. I already reached out to Amy and Mai, who are current FIBA officials. I have not refereed FIBA rules since 2000, since I did the Sydney Olympics. It's historically what we do in the States. We work in Olympics and then we somewhat retire from FIBA because it's not a big part of our lives here. It's either, we either do NCAA or NBA or WNBA. We don't typically focus too much on FIBA, other than doing the Olympics and then say, okay, I'm done. So I'm not up to speed on all the FIBA influences right now, but I told LJ, I've already been reading your manual, reading your rule book, and manuals are manuals. I'm telling you what, there's so many, and especially with Carl Jungerbrand being, I was in the NBA when Carl came to some of our camps. So I know his focus is a lot of NBA oriented philosophies. And I can see that in your manual. But I told LJ, I'm here for you guys. However you want to do this, whatever you want to know. I threw together a couple of slides, if I can find them. I want to be part of developing the world's best women officials. And so, like I said, I'm thrilled that you guys are here. And I'm originally from Philadelphia, PA, so I'm going to say a whole lot of you guys. So I'm sorry. I've been in the South. I live in North Carolina. I can't say y'all. It won't come out of my mouth. It just won't. So, but you'll hear you guys. And that's gender neutral because that's how we talk in Philly. But here we're, my Amy already told me, these are the top 5 performance standards that Carl and FIBA are looking at right now. I'll tell you what, this is pervasive. It doesn't matter if we're talking FIBA, we're talking NCAA, we're talking NBA, we're talking WNBA. And, I find it curious throughout in my officiating career. Let's see, I started refereeing in 1982. I know, way before many of you were born. I don't even want to hear about it. I'm still running. I'm still working the game. We can do, ageism later. You can ask me all those crazy questions. But as long as I've been involved, semantics change, but really focal points don't. That's all. Play calling, mechanics. And I love it that FIBA calls it the IoT. I had to ask what the heck is IoT? Individual officiating techniques. 3-person officiating, game control, the rules knowledge inclusive of your IRS, which is instant replay, and court presence. And then I just threw this up there, like, where are we going to start with this program? What is your biggest point of urgency? What do you want to know? What are your goals, your processes? How can I help you? And we're going to break down the rule, the walls here. Nobody can be insecure. Nobody can get embarrassed. Nobody can be embarrassed about anything they ask. This is what, we want to create. Officiating is hard enough. So we're not going to, this is absolute safe zone. And I put #no judgment, which is what one of my best friends put on her 50th birthday party in Jamaica, and go from there on that one. But I threw those things up, and really, guys, I'm here for whatever you guys need. And as I said, I started refereeing in 1982. My resume, for those of you who don't know me, and hopefully a lot of you don't, my resume, I've refereed everything from NCAA to NBA to supervising the WNBA for about 15, 17 years total, supervising Southeastern Conference women's officials. There's not a whole lot in officiating I haven't done. And, ever so grateful for it. It's been a great gig. As far as FIBA is concerned, 2 women's world championships, 1 Olympics, 1 Pan Am, couple of world Olympic qualifying tournaments. So the resume is riddled with a whole lot of travel and a whole lot of fun. To me, it's absolutely intrinsic. I think, and it's interesting because you're going to run into all kinds of egos, and you have to, first of all, guys, you're going to put on really ugly uniforms. I don't care. We're going to put polyester pants on, a shirt that they're trying to make look better, but it still doesn't look good. And you go out in the middle of the floor and you let people scream at you for a living. So you better have a good sense of self to even walk on that floor. We all know that. So you have a good, strong ego. However, if you ask me, and LJ and I've discussed this with Locke, and we've discussed this before, like you ask me one of the most, probably right behind play calling, I believe communication is your second most important quality to be a successful official. And there are so many, and that's another, that's a whole night of discussion we can talk about with communication. How you communicate. What kind of empathy do you have? LJ touched on it. Very intense player, very competitive, very fiery. I, as an athlete, I, as a referee, obviously you have your list of things you must do as an official, and there are game management techniques you have. Game control, as FIBA puts there, that's one of their highlights. They want game control. But within that game control, we're still human beings. And one of the things that I thought, that I think I do well as a referee is communicate well. But there's always, and LJ said it earlier, she was always respectful. She was fiery, but she was still respectful. And I understand competitive athletes, but I will never, ever, ever understand disrespect. And as a supervisor and as an official and as your partner in officiating, I will tell you to never, ever, ever tolerate disrespect at all. Having empathy, having understanding of the competitive fire, that's a different thing. Being able to diffuse situations with maybe a little humor, a little bit of, self-deprecation. We miss calls. If any of you have had a perfect game, please get off now, because I can't handle it. It's like 40 years I've been reffing. I'm waiting for that first perfect game. It's not going to happen. If it does happen, I'll retire right there on the spot. I'm done. You don't have to ask when I'm going to retire. But so when I make that mistake and an athlete gets upset with me, I'll just look and go, was it that bad? And they're like, or if I know it's that bad, I will apologize. I know. Can you imagine some of the people you've worked with? Some of those guys you've worked with, some of those veteran officials who think you have no place on the floor. We can talk openly. Can you imagine some of them apologizing to an athlete that they missed a call? Yeah, Jasmine, I see your head going, no way. But yeah, it's like, I'd look and go, God, that was awful. I am sorry. And inevitably, the athlete would then look and go, it's okay. You don't miss many. And they made me feel better. It's a nice technique. So if you go at them hard, they're going to come back just as hard. And now your game escalates. But if they're disrespectful, trust me, if you can see clearly, there's one extra line up here, and that's the one eyebrow up look. You know, the one eyebrow up look means we are now done. So you have to, you know, you get that look, you get that persona that people know. The warning is coming, the technical foul is soon to follow. I mean, all my partners know if the eyebrow goes up, they go, oh, Kantner's pissed. You know, we're done. And I'll have friends at the other end of the court pushing their eyebrow because they don't know how to do it, going, you're mad? I'm like, yeah, I'm mad. So everyone knows that. They're like, the eyebrow's up. So athletes know, coaches know it. They know, but it doesn't come out that often. You've got your toolbox of tools to diffuse situations. Conflict resolution is going to be a huge part of how successful you are in this vocation or avocation, whichever one it ends up being for you. Conflict resolution. How do you diffuse situations? You pour gasoline on it, or do you diffuse them? Do you make it easier? Do you make it nicer? Do you calm them down, or do you set them on fire? But huge communication and humor. Use some humor. How do you identify the difference between passion and disrespect, abuse when you're mentoring young female officials? Well, first of all, anytime they make it personal.
Okay.
You know, when it becomes personal, when they start saying to me, you, you know, as opposed to the call sucks. And I'd look and go, first of all, we might want to choose different words. And maybe the call did suck versus you suck.
Okay.
When they say to me, you suck, I don't give a warning. It's like, we're done. When it becomes personal, when they direct it at you. If it's talking about a call or, you know, the tenor of the game or, you know, I may just, you know, I'll just go, be careful what you're saying. Give a warning. And Helen, you touched on it. I mean, I'm telling you what, and mentoring is so valuable. We're not born with this innate knowledge of how to handle all these crazy situations that we're confronted with in our, you know, among four lines with people screaming at you and all these things. And I know as a young official, I mean, I have this fabulous quick wit, I think, with a, you know, undertone of sarcasm that I think I'm absolutely freaking hysterical. It doesn't fly all the time. You know, when the young player looked at me and goes, how could you call that a foul? And I went, I made it up. I mean, I deadpanned it. I said, I made it up. Well, she didn't understand sarcasm. So she went running back to the coach and I went, oh, geez, not good. So you learn. And I just remember so many times on drives back from, you know, NC State or whatever that I had tried, you know, I tried to diffuse the situation. I said this and it was an epic fail. So on the way back, picked up the phone, called my mentor and said, this is what I said. What should I have said? How should I have handled this situation? So as I'm trying to direct younger officials, which really in the NCAA, that's almost everyone. There's maybe 3 or 4 men that are older than I, but nobody else. As I try to, you know, help them, it's like I said, when it becomes personal, then that's disrespectful. And there's no reason to ever tolerate that. If it, like I said, just, and you have to be honest with yourself too. If you really did kick the fire out of the call, recognize it. You know, the blood's already halfway in your neck. How many of us get that hot neck that we're like going, and it just keeps coming up to your ears and your ears are hot and you're just like everything. You're going, God, that was awful. And then if you have a Jumbotron, they replay it and everybody gets to see it all over again and boo you all over again. So, but with the younger officials, Helen, you're just going to have to keep working with them, give examples. Yeah, and hopefully they don't come in with all the hubris that they know everything right away.
Yeah.
That's always fun too. Because, you know, that's always one of the complaints of veterans. So it's like, I've been here forever and they don't give me any respect and blah, 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 blah. But think about you at that age. You thought you knew everything too. So
Right.
empathy goes a long way. I mean, we've all been there. We all thought we knew everything all the time, and we're still around. So, trying to understand what they're trying to accomplish. As you get more experience and you've already proven yourself, yes, you can say things differently. You can get away with things differently. You can, miss calls and they go, that's Helen. She's going to be good the next time. When you're in your first year, and that's where we have to understand, in the first year, the blood comes up quicker, the embarrassment comes quicker, and the insecurities are there. And it's our job to help soothe those and get them through that stage to the next one.
Dee, another question that I have. So a lot of the women that we have on here too are community grassroots referees. So they're refereeing, boys and, local competitions and things like that. And I think we found, particularly in Australia, that women cop a lot more abuse at community grassroots level than what they do at the higher levels. So I guess another, yeah, I know it's really bad, and we're doing a lot to try and change it. And even the Minister for Sport is at the moment. But I think in terms of like the community grassroots refs who are refereeing both men and women and are copying gendered abuse all the time, like what would you say to them? What's a piece of advice, or would you report straight away? Like how would you deal with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I just think we shouldn't allow that kind of abuse to be normalized. We've got to stop. We have camps all summer long trying to, teaching young officials, and they're AAU, community grassroots type of thing. And the parents are out of control. They are following our referees to their cars. They're, screaming. I get into a fight almost every summer with somebody. Not physically, but they'll start coming after me. I'm like, oh no. I believe and don't think it's like you're being a wuss because you're reporting them. We shouldn't have to tolerate this. This is why we have such a paucity of officials. This is why people don't want to be officials, because these fans, these parents, they're getting crazier. So we've got to stop tolerating that type of abuse, report it straight away, and hopefully the management or whoever's in charge in that community takes charge, or else you're going to come into we don't have enough officials at our grassroots level, because you're getting paid nothing and you're taking that kind of abuse. It's ridiculous. So again, I think that's part of the thing too. We've got to just stop being afraid of, you're entering into a realm where you can't be worried about how people judge you. This is a job. If you're worried if people like you or judge you, you need a different job. What's remarkable is that, in the beginning, you think you want to be liked. I never worried about being liked. The thing that I want by the time my career is over, and LJ's already paid me, great honor by inviting me here. The only thing I want is that hopefully people believed I was fair and they respected me. I don't care if they liked me. There are a lot of people who don't like me. I've had to make some tough calls and make some tough decisions. So, they're your neighbors, but they're jerks. And if they're acting like jerks, report them. They should look in the mirror. And that's where we have to, as referees, we have to rise above the fray. We just do. It's a job that is not, it's not one that people embrace, but when you get the fever for it, it's absolutely fabulous. It really is. If people are jerks, call them out. You didn't do it, they did. And until we continue to do that, until we continue to call out fans who are crossing the lines of gender, race, sexism, all these things, until we continue, behavior's not going to change. Big Sil, Sylvia Fowle was playing in college, LJ. They were just abusing her unmercifully about, she's a big girl and they're calling her a man and this. And I turned around and said, okay, game management, that whole group's gone. That whole section, gone. I threw them out. So you wonder why Big Sil, when she sees me, picks me up and I'm dangling because, she just hugs me, because I respected her. I took care of that stuff. She didn't get more calls in the game. She never did. LJ didn't get more calls in the game because I like her. You still have to have that fairness, but you treat people with respect, they'll remember. It's a tough decision. Obviously, you want to protect the athlete, you want to protect the other athletes. If they are on the court in a precarious position and about to get stomped on or whatever, you have to stop it right away. It's interesting because NCAA, FIBA allow for referees to make that decision when to stop the game. The pro rules, the NBA, the WNBA, I don't know what your pro, Australian rules are or anything, but we can, the pros can't stop it. Probably because too many athletes took advantage of that rule. The other team was on a breakaway and they screamed and fell on the floor. Kind of like, I was just watching a soccer game a little earlier. I mean, those guys, oh my God, you talk about, I don't know how you guys referee flopping either, but you have to talk to me about that. But, it's tough if a child, obviously with a head injury, anything that's going to harm their true health, I'm stopping immediately. And if I make the mistake, I'm going to err on the side of safety. That's it. It was my bleeding heart. If it's somebody who just rolls an ankle and the play's going the other way, we're going to let it go. I'm not going to stop fast breaks. I'm not going to, get in the way of the game that's flowing without that athlete being in danger. Those are, that type of decision. Obviously with the concussion or, profuse bleeding, things like that, we're going to stop right away. Compound fractures. I haven't had any of those in my career. I've had teeth break. I've had teeth go into the floor on a rebound where the teeth got, feet got taken out and the teeth stuck in the floor. How about that one? And I'm not good at this at all. I mean, and my friends who work with me, and I'm big and tough, and I just all of a sudden I get all blanched and I turn ghost white, and they're like, "Dee, we got it." I'm like, good, because I'll start crying. I feel people's pain. I'm very empathic. We're still people, and to me, I keep going back to one of the reasons I really believe I've been very successful in this vocation is because I can call plays. I'm athletic. We can get into the fitness, absolutely have to look the part. But truly is because I can communicate. And I can tell you, as a supervisor, we'd have some games that had some god-awful calls in them. And I'd get game reports back from these coaches, and I would be astounded because they said nothing about the bad calls. They just said, this guy's a jerk. He wouldn't communicate with me. This official would not talk to me. It was always because, first of all, coaches don't want to give up power, and they're having to relinquish some power to us, the referee, and they don't like that. And if we can't figure out how to communicate with them like human beings, they're going to be even more distressed when they see you. And again, you have to be able to discern when they've crossed over the respect line, though. And they know it too. And if you do not deal with that, don't be a doormat. Don't be a doormat. If they deserve a warning or a technical foul, you must assess that, or else you won't have any respect from them either. They'll know. So communication, empathy, human being, communication with athletes. I think you guys probably saw a few years ago when we had our tournament in the bubble, the NCAA tournament, Sedona Prince came out with the video showing the difference between the men's tournament, the men's athletes weight room, and the women's that had like dumbbells up to 15s and a few yoga mats. And that was their workout room. Yeah. They're like, yeah, good job, Jackie. Yeah, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get 5-pound dump. And Sedona exposed that. I ended up having Sedona And I never refereed Sedona. I had Oregon a number of times through my career, but Sedona wasn't on the team at that time. So I have Sedona in, I guess it was, I don't know, it might have been equivalent to like the regional final, whatever. And I said to her, I said, Donna, I said, thanks so much for exposing that. We really appreciate exposing the inequity there. And she looked at me and went, so I guess you're not going to call any fouls on me tonight then, huh? I said, oh, don't get crazy, baby. I said, don't get crazy. Not at all. But right there, Megan, we established a rapport of, guess what? She's a smart aleck, and so am I. We had a great time. And then later on, one of my partners made a god-awful call against her. And she turned and I just looked at her and went, and she went, I got you, Dee. I said, thank you. Because she already figured out that I can be funny and I can have a good time. But then it's time to work and I'm going to deal with her accordingly. And sometimes as you guys are standing there at mid-court and they're warming up and everybody's, doing their suicides or running drills and they all look at you. And sometimes I go, hey, how's it going tonight? And they turn and look like, I go, yeah, we can speak complete sentences. Because they're shocked that a referee's even going to say something to them. I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? And they're like, well, good. I said, good, let's have fun tonight. Be a human being. Don't go overboard. Don't be like, don't be putting your arm around the coach when you're talking to him. Don't talk to this coach 15 minutes more than that coach because they're going to pay attention to it because they're all freaking paranoid. They are. Coaches are nuts. I could show you some of these game reports. You won't believe how crazy they were until you see them. Rapport. And that's through the years and figuring out how well do you read people. I knew I could talk to LJ. She was a little bit of a pissant, but I knew she was all right. Just a little one. She was 17, full of, you should have seen her attitude. First time I saw her in an elevator. I'm like, oh my God, this is that all-star little 17-year-old from Australia. Okay. Attitude exuding out of the pores, which I loved. But I figured out a way because I like that attitude. Read your athletes, read your coaches. You don't talk to every coach the same way, do you? Not at all. I didn't talk to Muffet the same way I would talk to Jeff Walls at Louisville. Trust me. So you have to know who's going to do what. And that's one of the things, as I'm standing there at mid-court, I'm assessing a lot of time. If I don't know the teams, I'm paying attention to what these athletes are doing. Who's doing what? Who's the leader? Who's not? Who's talking? Who's smiling? How about your captains meetings? Renee, when you bring your captains together and all of a sudden they just stare at each other and don't say a word, we're like, oh, Jesus, what are we in for tonight? Versus captains that come together, Michaela, and they're like, hey, good to see you. And they hug and I'm like, okay, we're good. These two I can talk to. They'll handle their teams. All of these things you take in. There's so much, and that's what I love, the intangibles of officiating. I did a presentation a few years ago for a camp, and I ride Harleys too. I'm a beekeeper. I ride Harley Davidsons. I ride motorcycles. And I was reading my Hog magazine. I know you guys all subscribe to Hog magazine. Absolutely. And I'm reading my Hog magazine, and there was an article called Oil. Observation, intuition, logic. And I'm like, and I was on the beach in the Cayman Islands. I know. Okay, so I'm sitting there going, how fabulous is it? This is officiating. This is officiating. Observation. As soon as I, like anything, walking into the court, if I see anybody, game management, you pay attention, what kind of demeanor everybody is. Intuition. Okay, I apply that dealing with people. Logic, the rules, all these things. But all those intangibles are so important to being a successful official. It's not just calling plays and being a cardboard figure that they can't talk to. Anybody, coaches, players. As the WNBA supervisor officials, any TV game, I made sure there was at least one woman on the crew. any TV game. And I mean, I was astounded to see your World Cup final refereed by 3 men. Again, that is not a sexist thing. I don't care. You know, we just have to, and you can't tell me there wasn't one woman who could have handled the gold medal game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I told LJ this too at the 2000 Olympics. I didn't get the bronze game. I wasn't eligible for the gold game because US was in it. And I did not get the bronze game. And I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? You know, feeling I was pretty good. I was like, really? So I went to the technical commissioner. I said, and I was respectful. I said, I just need to know. Did I not perform well enough to earn the bronze medal game? He goes, oh, no. You're very good. Very good. Excellent official. I said, okay, I'm confused. Why didn't I get the bronze game then? Too aggressive. And I said, but if I was a man, he goes, oh, no problem then. I'm not going to be, as Troy said, a shrinking violet because people can't handle strength in a woman. They're going to get you. We have to normalize that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not like our job as a referee is to manage the game, control the game, all those types of things. You know, you can still, show a sense of humor, have a personality, do whatever, but we also, shouldn't be over knitting during timeouts. No, I'm not going to do it. Don't you love it? I mean, when I know you've had it, and Troy, you've probably even done it as a coach, where the coach yells out at their players, keep playing, they'll call a foul soon. And I looked over, and it was an assistant coach, and I looked over and said, really? We're going to go passive aggressive on me? And he just went. And my one partner who wasn't real sharp goes, what are you talking about? I said, you'll figure it out later. So, and he started laughing. So instead of getting angry, I just went, we're going passive aggressive? He said, just yell it to me. Like, I can't hear what you're saying. So there, again, knowing that personality, knowing that assistant coach, I chose that path as opposed to, you have a warning. Use some humor sometimes if it's not that egregious. Because a lot of officials who get their backs up, or, that man who won't let you talk, they'll just go, you have a warning, because you're not, and I'm just like, really? Like, I can't hear you. I can hear what you're saying. Oh, I'll use humor a lot. I'll use, and self-deprecating humor sometimes, or just even be honest. If a player is frustrated, if they're getting frustrated, I will walk by them and go, why are you frustrated? What am I missing? Tell me what I'm missing. Help me out. And again, then they think, wow, they're open to, as Troy said, we're in this for the same reason. We're all in it for the same reason. We're all here trying to have the most fair environment so the best team wins. Our job is to enforce that. Of course, the coach is trying to win for his team or her team. But when I say to that player, what am I missing? Why are you so frustrated? Especially with a player that doesn't get frustrated that often, who's a pretty good player, pretty good kid, pretty good person, pretty good man, whatever. And they're showing frustration. Ask them, what's happening? They're stunned sometimes, again, that we would care, that we might admit we don't see everything. Because they're so used to too many of those other idiots out there who think it's insulting to them to think that we miss something. I miss something every game. And I'm not embarrassed to admit it. Just going, help me. I want this game to be worked better. What am I missing? There are a lot of tools I've used through the years, and those are effective. And even when you had, and I teach a lot of the younger officials that I work with, to always leave a window open. If Lauren's coaching a team and she, and I make a call, and I know I'm 99.9% sure it's a damn good call. Like, I'm correct. And then Lauren says to me, but, mate. And I go, I feel pretty good about it, but I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. She'll go back and look at that film and go, she was right. And she didn't make me feel like an idiot. I love it. I don't know why. I love that pressure. Yeah, it's just, to me, when you work a national championship game, or being the first woman in the NBA, trust me, there were a whole lot of cameras everywhere. I happen to enjoy that pressure. You have a national championship game, they come in, they go, "Hey, Dee, we've got 38 cameras today." And you're just like, is there one in the locker room? Should I be concerned, as I'm changing? And you're going to miss calls, and somebody at home is going to get that angle that 38th camera has on top of the backboard. Yep, Helen's nodding. And it's going to look so easy. That call is going to look like an unbelievably obvious call, because the spider camera that's running above the court over your head, and you see shadows as you're running down the floor going, what? Oh, it's a spider camera, has that angle that you'll never get. You just have to accept you're not going to be perfect. And I mean, even my mother will abuse me sometimes, like, how could you miss that call? And I'm like, Mom, it was the camera on the ceiling. It's like, I don't have that angle, but that pressure, I just happen to find very enjoyable. And there's just so many other positives, I get to talk to you guys in Australia. I mean, come on. Well, not everybody gets to do that after their job. Now there are moments. Yeah. Have I ever thought like I wanted to quit right there on the spot? Absolutely. There are people who are hurtful. There are people who say things that clearly cross the line. And I actually had conversation with some fans sometimes when they cross the line. I mean, I usually don't, I let them say whatever they want, but there are people who have really crossed the line, and I will address it. You get that opportunity to educate people, to help people see that we are real people. And I have fun with fans. They've seen me so long, and they abuse me on so many different levels, and we have a good time. Again, my sense of humor comes in handy. I go on to courts now, and it's like the entire row of like half the people who drink beer on the first row, like, Dee, you want a beer? I'm like, yeah, right now, probably not, but later. Wouldn't look good. Somebody will capture that on, FaceTime or something. So, but no, it's hard. I mean, people keep asking when I will retire, and I'm like, I don't know, because I still enjoy it so much. I still enjoy it so much, but it's coming. The time's coming. But the joy clearly outweighs the frustrations, but I would not, I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm not about to lie to you that there aren't moments, especially when you're driving home from a hard game and it was just tough and you made horrible calls and it's 3 a.m. and you're hoping it rains because you're exhausted and you want to put your head out the window so it, so it might keep you awake and all those things. We've all been there.
Yeah.
But the positives are just so much better than the negatives. So many more. 90-10. One last story. I've got so many, but last year I was working a game. This guy's on the sidelines. He had never been to a women's college game, never been to a women's basketball game. He called me over during a timeout and he goes, I know nothing about basketball, because what I do know is that you actually look like you're having a good time, because your two partners look like they're in pain the whole time and you look like you're having fun. And I said, I do until I don't. Like I said, the eyebrow will go up, that extra line is still there, but this does not have to be drudgery. And I think that's where I think, Megan, where we're going to get into be like the men, be serious at all times. No, be like you are. Be a person, connect with people, but be businesslike and do your job well. Know when you can use humor, know when, and you're going to fail miserably sometimes. You're going to say the wrong thing. But I always say another reason I think I was successful is because it's my true heart. It's my true passion. I'm out there for the right reason. I'm really out there to try to service the game, be as fair as I can to every athlete on the floor, whether they're, funny or not, or whatever, whether we connect or not, I want to do the best gosh darn job I can. But also, you know, let people know I'm not there to be the nemesis at all. I'm there just to service the game, be as fair as possible, and may the best team win.